All right, man, peace. So for those of you brothers who've been on my channel long enough, you know that I'm on record as stating that I view Mr. Draymond Green as well as Kevin Durant as potential powder kegs in the Golden State locker room. Why is that? Because they're both mama's boys, and they come from that black female matriarchal household. That energy that oftentimes encourages so-called black men to embrace their emotions and be whimsical, willy-nilly, and that strength is in their ability to cause contention or entropy in their environment. I seriously thought that either Draymond or KD would have an implosion in last year's playoffs. Fortunately for them, they were able to contain themselves, but it seems as though there may be some potential issues with Mr. Draymond Green and Steve Kerr, who have had issues in the past. Why do I say that? Because Steph Curry recently sat down with Bill Simmons to do Bill Simmons' podcast, and he confessed that there have been some very anxious moments between Draymond and Steve Kerr in the locker room or out on the floor while Steve Kerr has attempted to coach the team. And it's very unfortunate. I even have a video about this issue called "Can Black Athletes Play for Black Coaches?" And as I've stated in that video, because so many brothers are raised in these female-oriented homes and in these matriarchal backgrounds, oftentimes they have a very difficult time respecting male energy. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
So Steph Curry was on the Bill Simmons podcast recently and had some interesting comments about the relationship between Draymond Green and head coach Steve Kerr. Quote, "They argue about a play call or maybe something Coach Kerr has been thinking about for a couple games. And Draymond's like, don't overcoach. We know what we're doing." And Coach is like, well, I know you know what you're doing, but let me just help you as I'm supposed to do. That's what my job is, to point out things that could be important for us to win a championship.
Draymond Green is a great glue guy, but he has to be very careful because he fits in perfectly with the Warriors. If he were to go out to Orlando, he'd be a totally different player. If he played with the Charlotte Hornets, he'd be a totally different player. He has to be thankful for where he's at. I'm not saying that he has to be deferential or show an excessive amount of obeisance to Steve Kerr. But at the same time, if Steve Kerr is coaching your team, let that man say what he needs to say. Because if you were somewhere else, you'd be a completely different player. He does not have a transcendent skill set.
So obviously, guys, we know the Warriors will have some big decisions coming up with the contracts of 3 of their superstars. Max, who would you let go of first? Clay, Draymond, or KD?
Well, in my view, and this may surprise certain people, but the most expendable Warrior is probably KD. Because he's the only Warrior that was not there when they rose to prominence. He's the only Warrior who was not there when they won their first championships. So they've already shown that they can win without him.
I actually think the answer is Draymond. And unlike most who discuss this, or many at least, I don't think that Clay is better than Draymond or more valuable at this moment. I think Draymond is the 3rd most valuable player on the team. And as much as Steph is the engine and Durant is the best player, Draymond's the heart and soul of the team.
I'm not quite sure if Durant is the best player. I think that he's the best talent. But I'm still not quite sure if he's the best player. Curry does certain things that make you wonder if he might be the best player in the NBA, period. The problem with Stephen Curry is that it's too easy to knock him off his square. Once he loses confidence in his shot, it starts to show in his body language. But when he's on, he's the most impactful player in the NBA on offense. There's no doubt about that.
And Draymond's his versatility enables the Warriors to be the Warriors as much as anyone except for maybe Steph Curry. So it's not that I'm underrating him or anything, but guys, it's not that his game is based on athleticism, but there is a requisite level of athleticism you need to be successful if you're Draymond, because he has no one elite skill on offense. He's a jack of all trades, but he's not elite in any one situation. His versatility is based on the fact that he can shoot, he can pass, he can play defense, he can do all these things, defense at an elite level, but offensively, only elite because among players who can do all those things, he can do those things better than most.
In other words, Max Kellerman, you're stating that he's a cog in the wheel. And you're correct on that. I think that Draymond brings a lot to the table, but he has to be careful. Draymond's like the ugly chick in a clique of pretty girls. A lot of times the ugly chick runs her mouth the most because that's the only way that she's going to get attention.
guys, as he ages, I believe he will age more poorly than a guy like, say, Klay Thompson.
I agree with you. I think that Draymond has about 5 years left of being a potent player in the NBA.
Who can shoot the lights out, right? Klay can shoot and defend wings. Those are two elite skills that everyone also wants. So I don't see why it would be Steph or Durant. Those are the two best players. That leaves you Klay or Draymond. And based on the way they're going to age, I think the answer is Draymond. Draymond will be the first out.
Once again, I believe that KD would be the first out if you actually had to get rid of someone. If you absolutely had to get rid of one player on the Warriors, and I'm sure that this will surprise a lot of people for me to say that, but I would get rid of KD because I already know what the team can do with Steph as the best player. Now, they would have to replace KD with someone, obviously, but I think that Steph Curry could potentially be better next year than he was even in 2016. He's bigger and stronger than he was, and he's still the same shooter. I've just seen too many flaws in KD's game when Steph Curry was not out there on the floor with the team, particularly in regards to his inability to deal with excessive physicality from certain teams. There was a portion of the Rockets series where they were able to take KD almost completely out of the game. And it wasn't until Steph Curry started to open up the perimeter shooting that actually opened up KD in the mid-range.
Well, I think it's obvious that if you had to pick between the four, that Draymond would be the one that's out because Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are two of the greatest shooters that we've ever seen. And I happen to believe that Kevin Durant is the second best player on the planet, if not number 3. That's just how I feel about it. But if you're talking about who would likely be gone, I would tell you it's not Draymond. I would tell you it's Kevin Durant.
Great assertion, sir. I agree with you.
I don't think Klay Thompson is going anywhere. We know that Steph Curry's not going anywhere. And when you talk about Draymond, who's locked in for 2 more years, the reason why he turned down the notion of trying to sign an extension this summer that would have paid him an annual $24 million a year, the reason why he turned that down is because if he makes the All-NBA team, becomes a defensive player of the year, etc., if he fulfills one of those categories, he's in position to sign a supermax deal, which I don't think he'll ever get. But the point is, he'll probably get more than what he'd get now. Now you got to take that into consideration. You also got to take into consideration that no matter how brilliant of a basketball mind he is and what have you, he's that glue. Kevin Durant is the guy that could be looking to go to different pastures. If he wins another title, you're a 3-time champion. The possibility of a 3-time NBA Finals MVP is right there for him. And
let me say this. Should the Warriors get back to the finals this up-and-coming NBA season, they're going to do their darndest to get Steph Curry that NBA Finals MVP. And if he still can't get it, if Kevin Durant gets another NBA Finals MVP, that could cause some friction between himself and Curry. I won't say that it's going to be active friction. I think that it'll be passive-aggressive friction that may drive Kevin off the team. Or he may say to himself, you know what, there's nothing else that I can do here. It's time for me to go somewhere else. Maybe I'll go to New York and team up with Kyrie. I don't see the NBA allowing him to go to the Lakers and team up with LeBron. I just don't see that.
And if you listen to folks around the league, I certainly have never spoken to Kevin Durant about this, but if you listen to folks around the league talking about him, although he appreciates the situation that he's in and life is really, really good, he keeps his options open because another situation might develop. I can tell you right now, the New York Knicks think they have a chance.
I agree with you. I think they have a chance as well because Kevin Durant is very close with Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving. Very close.
And getting Kevin Durant to come to New York next year, if you can create enough cap space, whether it's for a Butler or a Kemba Walker combined with Kristaps Porzingis and what have you, they think they have a chance. Whether that's real or not remains to be seen. But they really think they have a chance. I'm going to repeat what I said months ago. I don't give a damn who denies it. I'm telling you what I know. LeBron James texted Kevin Durant and asked him about L.A.
I believe you, bro. I've always believed you. But LeBron James, of course, cannot publicly admit that because it makes him look too soft.
Before LeBron James made his arrival to the Lakers official. Everybody can deny it all they want to. I don't give a damn. I'm telling you what happened, okay? He texted Kevin Durant and asked him about L.A. Now, did he go in depth about it? I don't know.
LeBron texts KD at 1:30 in the morning. What you doing? You want to come down to L.A.? I'm just saying, not necessarily join the team, just to chill out for a minute.
But I know he asked him about LA via text. So I look at it from that perspective, and I'm saying Kevin Durant, somewhere along the line, whether it's true or not, has at least given folks a reason to believe that being in Golden State this year, if he were to win another championship, he might be interested in a different challenge. And who's to say
Stephen A, I just want to, let me throw one thing at you guys. And Stephen A, I heard the same thing also, completely agree with you. And obviously we know they can't pay 5 guys top dollar. But you guys, what about long term if they swap out Draymond for Boogie?
I don't think that's a viable alternative because Boogie's not going to bring to the table what Draymond brings defensively. Plus, I don't know how much stock you can put in a 7-foot, 270-pound center coming off of an Achilles tendon tear. I like him as someone who's a fifth option on the team, but replacing Draymond Green, Draymond's responsibilities are so vast on both offense and defense that I think that it's a lot more than just Boogie being expected to score 25 with 12 rebounds. There's a lot that Draymond does.
It's possible. It's not impossible, although Draymond's a defender, Boogie's not.
Exactly. And not only that, not only is Draymond a defender, he's a point forward. And it gives Steph Curry and Klay Thompson the luxury to roam even more judiciously than they do now. And so,
absolutely, that's my point. Draymond has so many responsibilities on offense and defense.
And so what Draymond means to the Golden State Warriors is completely underestimated and underappreciated by a lot of people out there. He's very, very invaluable. He's very important to...
That's why I agree with you that they would let KD go before they let Draymond Green go.
To that franchise. And if you can keep the Splash Brothers intact with a Draymond, you can add somebody else without having to add a guy that Kevin Durant that's obviously great, but that comes with a hefty price.
When you talk about the identity of the Warriors, you are talking about Steph Curry 1 and Draymond Green 2.
I agree.
Draymond Green, in that sense, is the second most important player in terms of that team's identity, at least the second, maybe more. Recall, had LeBron not won that championship in Game 7 at Oracle, Draymond was about to be the MVP of the finals. He's a great player and an underrated player, but his game I don't think will age as well as some of the other players. And Steve,
I completely agree with everything that you just stated, Max Kellerman. I don't think that Draymond's game is going to age well. I don't think that he's going to be one of those guys in the NBA at 36, 37 years old. I think that he has one big contract left in him. I could see him certainly retiring at about 33, 34 years old, maybe going into broadcasting so that he could use all that shit talking to make even more money. But he's not an explosive athlete even right now per se, and I believe he's, 28 years old? He's not somebody who's going to jump out the gym right now. But he fits in perfectly with their scheme, both on offense and defense.
Stephen A., what you're talking about with Durant is he is the choosing one. What I'm talking about is who the team will eventually choose. In other words, should the players, and it's unpredictable, decide, no, this is where we want to stay. Let's say all of them would prefer to be there, and I don't see why they wouldn't. It's a great place, Silicon Valley, and they're a great organization, and they keep destroying everything in sight. And as you said, KD chose a path of least resistance by going there. All of a sudden,
but the player's choice is what matters here.
New York City and the Knicks.
But the player's choice I'm saying the player's choice is what matters more so than the team choice, because Klay was in position to sign, Draymond was in a position to extend, and Kevin Durant is going to be in position to sign. So it's really not a team choice, it's about them.
What I'm saying is, when it is their choice, you're right, then you have to pay attention to what they may or may not do. What I'm saying is, eventually, the team may have to choose in terms of budget, in terms of restocking to get younger, in terms of the arc of a guy's career trajectory.
That's going to be a great test for the Golden State Warriors franchise, for their executives. Are they going to take the tact of one of these teams that allows their players to age on the team, like the San Antonio Spurs? Or are they going to take the Bill Belichick, Danny Ainge tact of trading away a lot of their stars before they get too old to be tradable commodities? Very interesting. Just going by the rhetoric of the Golden State Warriors and their belief that they're ahead of the curve, I think that they may take the Boston tact of trading away a lot of their prominent stars before they get too old to become tradable commodities. It wouldn't shock me to see them get rid of a Klay Thompson or even a Draymond if Draymond becomes too much of a headache. maybe 2 years into his contract. We'll find out.
What he wants to get paid, the team may have to make a choice on someone. And I think based on their ages and their games and their likely salaries, the choice they will make, should it come to that, is that Draymond is the guy eventually they will let go first.
And I'm saying that you have guys that may want to leave. And I'm thinking, and I think Golden State is keenly aware of that. And it's not that it's anything bad about Golden State or whatever. Sometimes when you win, you're looking for new challenges. Steph.
It sounds like Stephen A. Smith has heard something. Either that, or he's another member of the mainstream liberal sports media who's trying to entice Kevin Durant to leave to try to engineer the fall of their dynasty.
Steph Curry has never given you any indication that he wants to go elsewhere. Neither has Klay Thompson. You don't know about Draymond or Kevin Durant.
Hi guys, I apologize, just lost you both in my ear here, so I think we're ready to wrap up. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out when we come back.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just think that Steve Kerr may get tired of Draymond. And once Draymond's usefulness has come to an end in regards to what he brings to the basketball team, they may jettison him, if for no other reason than to get that annoying yapping out of their ears. So Draymond should be very careful, but he does not seem to be the type to take any forewarning into account when he decides to act how he wants to act. So peace.